So have you ever stopped to wonder how the world's most elite problem solvers actually, well, solve problems? Today, we are opening up the toolkit used by McKinsey Company, the legendary consulting firm that advises the most powerful organizations on the entire planet.
For almost 100 years, McKinsey has been the absolute gold standard in strategy. I mean, these are the people Fortune 100 CEOs get on the phone when they are facing their biggest, most complicated, highest stakes challenges. Their influence is legendary, and as you're about to see, so are their methods.
Here's the thing. It's not some kind of magic. It's a highly disciplined, repeatable process for breaking down literally any problem, no matter how messy or tangled up it seems. And today, we're going to walk through exactly how they pull it off.
All right, here's our game plan for breaking down their approach. First, we'll get into the core mindset. Then, we'll dive into the 3 foundational pillars of their method. And we'll wrap up with a few powerful rules they live by. And yeah, you probably noticed our roadmap is super structured. That's kind of the whole point.
Okay, so to really get the McKinsey way, you have to understand the culture first. For them, problem solving isn't just one step in a project. It is woven into the very fabric of everything they do.
This quote from a former consultant, it just says it all, doesn't it? It's this deep-seated, skeptical mindset where you're constantly asking, why? Why do we do it this way? Is there a better way? Honestly, it's a whole new way of seeing the world.
And that entire mindset is built on these 3 pillars. You'll notice that things at the firm often come in 3s. It's kind of a magic number over there. Every single solution they build is going to be fact-based, rigidly structured, and driven by an initial hypothesis. So let's break each of those down. So let's dig into that first pillar, facts. The entire McKinsey method starts right here with a solid foundation of cold, hard, objective information. No big strategies, no grand plans, not until you have the facts.
This is a core mantra at the firm. And what it means is that facts are nothing to be scared of, even if they tell you something you don't want to hear. Instead, you have to see them as these friendly, essential bricks that you absolutely need to build any kind of lasting solution.
Now, there are 2 brilliant reasons for this obsession with facts. First, consultants, they're often generalists. They're not 20-year industry veterans, so they can't just rely on gut instinct. Facts give them solid ground to stand on. And second, facts bridge the credibility gap. Just imagine you're 27 years old and you're presenting to a CEO. Your opinion? It doesn't mean much, but an overwhelming pile of facts, that's impossible to ignore.
All right, on to the second pillar. This is all about organizing those facts and really all of your thinking. This is where that famous McKinsey clarity really comes from.
This concept, MECE, you pronounce it MECE, is a non-negotiable golden rule. It means that every list you make, every presentation you build, has to organize information into buckets that do not overlap, that's the mutually exclusive part, and it has to cover all the possibilities, leaving no gaps, that's the collectively exhaustive part. No overlaps, no gaps. Simple.
This slide shows it perfectly. So let's say you're trying to improve a company's profits. The list on the left has reduce unit cost, and it also has re-engineer production. But wait a second, see the problem? Re-engineering production is how you might reduce unit cost. They're not separate ideas, they overlap. The MECE list on the right cleans it all up by keeping the categories totally distinct. It's clean, it's complete, and there's zero confusion.
And that brings us to the third pillar, which you could argue is the most powerful and maybe the most surprising one. It's about creating your map before you actually start the journey. So the initial hypothesis is basically your best educated guess at the solution, and you form it right at the beginning of the project. Now this is key. It's not the final answer. Not at all. It's just a theory that you're going to test, to prove, or even disprove. That map is what guides all your work and makes sure every piece of analysis you do actually has a purpose. So, how do you actually build this map? Okay, let's imagine profits are down. First, you'd start with whatever facts you have on hand. Then, you'd break the problem down into its key drivers, things like revenue and costs. Then, you'd make a testable recommendation, a hypothesis. Like, we believe profits are down mainly because our material costs shot up by 30%. See? That specific guess now guides all your analysis, which keeps you from getting lost in an endless sea of data. So, now we've got the core framework, right? Fact-based, structured, and hypothesis-driven. Now let's look at a few really powerful rules that McKinsey consultants use every single day to speed up their problem solving. The 80-20 rule. This is just a fundamental truth of business, and really, of life. What it says is that roughly
80% of your results are going to come from just 20% of your efforts. The trick, of course, is finding that critical 20%.
And check this out, this is what it looks like in the real world. In one project, McKinsey found that a whopping 80% of a firm's sales were coming from just 20% of its brokers. I mean, wow. Knowing that lets you focus your energy like a laser beam right where it'll have the biggest impact instead of spreading yourself too thin.
This is one of my all-time favorite McKinsey sayings. It's such a memorable way to think about a really critical idea: efficiency. It just means you don't have to analyze every single thing under the sun. You don't try to boil the entire ocean just to get a little bit of salt. Your goal is to gather just enough data to test your hypothesis and make a call. Anything more than that is just a waste of time and energy.
Okay, picture this. You step into an elevator with the CEO, and she looks at you and says, "All right, you've got till the ground floor. Tell me what you've found." Could you do it? That's the elevator test. It forces you to boil down months of complex work into its absolute, most essential core. Because if you can't explain it simply, you probably don't understand it well enough yourself.
So after all these pillars and rules and frameworks, what does this all really boil down to? What's the big idea here?
The McKinsey Way isn't about having some secret book of answers. Not at all. It's about having a disciplined, structured process that you can apply to any problem. It transforms all that chaos and ambiguity into a clear path forward. It's a toolkit that, honestly, anyone can learn and start using. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question. Think about the biggest challenge you are facing right now, maybe at work or in a big project. How could you apply these principles, starting with the facts, structuring with MECE, leading with a hypothesis to find a better solution? What complex problem will you structure first?